Hello everybody, it is July almost, so it is pretty much solidly halfway through the year. So I am doing a bunch of mid-year check-in stuff, doing resets, looking at my goals for the year and how I'm doing with those. And as part of that, what I wanted to do is go through my bookshelves, this genre fiction bookshelf right here, and then my classics slash lit fic slash nonfiction slash anything that's not genre fiction bookshelf in the corner, and just go through everything and see if there's anything that I am not wanting to hold on to anymore, anything that I think can move off the shelf. Just trying to kind of do a bookshelf clean out for the middle of the year. I have very limited bookshelf space and I can't really buy anymore. There's just nowhere else to really put them in my apartment, and I am really trying to limit the amount of books I'm bringing up 3 flights of stairs because I know I'm gonna have to move them all out when I leave. So I try not to buy stuff unless I already know I've loved it and I want to hang on to it and I want to, keep it for many years and reread it and maybe lend it out to people. But I also love a deal, and I love a library book sale, and I love buying books online, and then also I love holding on to books. So especially on my non-genre fiction bookshelf, there was a lot of stuff there. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff on there that just like I have no strong feelings for, but I just kept on there because that bookshelf fills up much less fast than my genre fiction bookshelf. So sometimes stuff just stays on there forever even when it doesn't need to because there's room and I'm not really looking at it that closely. So today I'm going to go through each of those bookshelves and just see what I can grab and see what I can get out of my home and into little free libraries so that I can put the books that I have unread that are currently hanging out on the top of the shelf, hopefully read them and then move them somewhere down below, or also kick them out of here and then go buy nice editions of books that I love. So let's get into that. Okay, so we're gonna start over here with this bookshelf. This is my non-genre fiction bookshelf. Basically everything over here is like classics and lit fic and my small non-fiction and manga collection, and you can see all the books up top here are most of my unread books, so that are making their way onto the bookshelf itself that I would like to read. We're just gonna go through these and see if maybe there are any that I want to get rid of or have to admit that I am just not gonna read. I don't go through this bookshelf as much as I do my other one because I don't buy as much or read as much non-genre fiction, so typically like whenever I do buy something and I like it, I want to keep it, it just always has a place on here, but it has recently gotten a little fuller, so we will go through it now. I think already I have to admit that I'm not going to read My Abandonment. I have to just admit that I'm not going to read this. I got it from a library book sale, like you can even see the Mylar on it, and I got it because I paid $10 at the door, so I was just like looking for stuff that would I was interested in at all to get my money's worth, and the only reason I bought it is because Ursula K. Le Guin blurbed it on the back. But I haven't picked it up since I got it at the book sale like in February, so I'm probably just not gonna read it. Then I also think I'm just gonna have to admit I'm not gonna read In Defense of Women or King Solomon's Ring. I don't even know if they're on screen right now. Anyways, I again got these because I was trying to get my money's worth and they were pretty. I may keep these and like rip them up and use them for journaling, but I'm definitely not going to read them, so they don't need to be on my bookshelf. Everything else up there I'm still interested in reading. I could even move Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man onto the bookshelf because I haven't read that book. I just want to reread it soon, but I think I'm going to keep it up there to remind myself that I want to reread it. And so now let's actually go through first level of the bookshelf, and yes, I also keep my CDs in here. First of all, I just have to admit again, I'm not gonna read Cast. I bought this at several library book sales ago. I got maybe like this far into it, 25 pages into it, and then I just stopped reading it, not because I didn't like, it wasn't the time for me to read this, and if I ever do want to read this, I can easily get it from the library or get another secondhand copy, and it's just so big and takes up so much space on the bookshelf, and I'm just gonna get rid of it. I also think I'm going to let go of this thrift books copy of Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I really enjoyed this book when I read it. I read it probably in like my first or second year of undergrad, and I enjoyed it, but like I just never felt any desire to read the rest of the series, and I've always held on to this in case I do feel the desire to read the rest of the series, and so I can reread this first book and like, understand everything that's happening. But it's been like 4 or 5 years and I just have never felt the urge to, and it's not even particularly a very nice copy anyways because I've got it secondhand, and then if I did want to read it again, I could just get it from the library, so this one's gonna go away too. Everything else up here is staying. It's all stuff I like, stuff I've read. We're good on that. Okay, now we're looking at this shelf. Anything on here? I think I'm gonna move Brave New World to my bin of books that I keep because they have sentimental value to me, but that I don't want on my shelf because I'm not gonna read and they don't really represent my taste anymore. I read this book in high school for assigned reading and like I actually loved it when I read it in high school. I haven't read it since I was like 14, so I don't know how I would feel about it now, and I keep telling myself, oh, you should reread it and see how you feel now, but I never have, and so it's just been taking up space on my bookshelf, and it's a really beat up copy because again it's from when I was 14. So I'm gonna also move this to the bin of books where my books go to wait. And then these 3 books are also getting removed for all kind of the same reason. They're books I bought secondhand and that are really falling apart, and that if I really loved The Heart is a Lonely Hunter and The Member of the Wedding. I also really liked The Metamorphosis, but if the urge takes me, I'll probably just go out and buy nicer new copies of these instead of keeping these really beat up secondhand ones. Okay, anything else up here? No, my Virginia Woolf collection is growing. I have really enjoyed all the stuff I've read from her. And that copy of Evelyn of Brideshead River that I have is so ugly because it does have the sticker on it that I've never been able to get rid of. But I love that book so much, and I can't get rid of it until I know I already have a new copy of it. So I'm gonna look around and see if I can find any copies of it that I really like, and then replace it that way. Okay, and now here's the hard part, my genre fiction bookshelf. Everything up here again in the little piles is stuff that I haven't read. I'm a lot more strict about it on this bookshelf because I just literally every single time I want to put something on this bookshelf I have to take something off, so it's a very strict process. And then I do have my beautiful copy of the Vampire Armand displayed, and then the rest of my Vampire Chronicles books are back there. I've got a little vampire collection back there with Dracula, Daly, and Carmilla, and my Vampire Chronicles books, but none of them get to be displayed because I have so many other books set out in front of them. So that's really kind of my goal this second half of the year, is to read all of the books I have that I have just been sitting in my house that I haven't read yet. I think I was stockpiling them to see if any of them I could use for fantasy bingo, because I wanted to really try to read stuff that, you know, I had gathered and not read, or like was picking up stuff being like, oh, this could be like a good thing to read one day for a prompt or like for a challenge video or something. And then when fantasy bingo prompts came out this year, literally I think only a single book I had would have fit the prompts, and it was Dahlgren by Samuel Delany, and it would only fit the one-word book title. So I'm just trying to get through them all now. I've made a good dent on this stack, but not on this stack, and we'll see. So everything up there is staying. Everything in those stacks I'm still interested in reading, or at least giving a try before I pass on. So let's go down to... So everything on here is mostly here because I love it, so this might be a little difficult, but I'm gonna try. I do see one thing. Move my trinkets. I do think I'm gonna let go of my hardback edition of Tomb of Dragons by Catherine Addison. When I liked this book, and I think it's a good book, but every time I see it, I just think of how kind of disappointed I was with it, and how it just, this last book in a trilogy just took such a different direction than I thought the series was going to take from the first 2 books and what they had been setting up. So every time I see it, I don't think of all the good stuff about this book and all the things I love about Catherine Addison's writing. I just think about that disappointment, and that's not a good feeling to have with a book series. And the rest of my Goblin Emperor and my Chronicles of Ozareth, Cemeteries of Amalur, whatever the series is called, books are all in paperback. I think the paperback edition of this just came out like a couple months ago, so I'm just gonna let this one go, and then if I ever feel the desire to reread the entire series and reread this one as well, I'll just buy it in paperback. So goodbye, Tomb of Dragons. And that makes some nice space in here. Oh, we might even be able to fit Graceling in with Bitter Blue. That's always bugged me that they're separate when they're the same series. Okay, that's wonderful. I love that. Okay, yay! So now Graceling and Bitter Blue are together again, like they belong, and I'll put that back up there. Okay, keeping Breaks Fall and Santa Bright Doors, and I'll show you when I show you my pile of discard books. I know I literally just bought like the first 3 hardbacks in the Foreigner series. I decided I'm just gonna keep the first one. I was a little overzealous with buying the first 3. I thought that it was gonna be way more of like a contained trilogy, because that's kind of what I had heard, that the series is like 22 books long, but like they're broken up into little sub trilogies. But in these first couple trilogies, the boundaries are quite blurry between like the trilogies and what is happening in each of the trilogies, so I kind of only feel the need to keep the first one because I really loved that first one and it was so fun, and I still really like the rest of the series, but like I don't need them physically to reread. If I was ever going to reread the series, it would probably just be the first one anyways, so I'm keeping that one. I love how cute Bren looks here, and then also I think I might get rid of Moth Eater by Linda Codega. This story was okay, but the reason I've kept this book for so long is because I love the cover design, and I really just love this cover and this book design. It's so pretty, but like I'm never gonna reread this, and it's taking up valuable space on the bookshelf, so she might also have to go. Everything else over there is staying. Oh. Hi. This is the Seth Dickinson bookshelf. Seth Dickinson Quarantine Zone, and Hirenenes and The Very Best of the Best. So this is kind of a good shelf for me. I like this shelf. I really try to keep series and authors together. I just like it that way. I might finally let go of The River Has Roots. I liked this, but I'm probably just never going to reread it, and I kept it because it's like a small book. It doesn't take up that much room, and it's a really pretty book, but also like I'm kind of ready to let it go and send it to a new home who will really love it and reread it and like it much more than me. So like I still liked this book. It was very pretty and nice, but like we got a lot of books to fit on this shelf, so like I can't be keeping books that I just kind of liked. I feel like I really should get rid of one of my copies of The Bright Sword, but like one of them is very clearly just a display copy. The one I got from, I think it's the Broken Binding, because they were having a sale, and I guess I'm the only person in the entire world who likes The Bright Sword because it was literally on sale for like 12 pounds. So even with shipping to the US, it was only like $20, which is like the price of a normal paperback here now without shipping. So and it's honestly a really pretty design. It's just so big. I think I might try to move it over to my display bookshelf, which nothing is really moving from my display bookshelf, but I'll show it to you anyways. But I think I might try to move that one over. I would like just put it above and show the spine, but unfortunately my cat did grab her little claws onto it, which is all I can see when I look at that spine, but like it's still such a pretty book. I'm gonna move it over to the display bookshelf and find a way to display it, and that makes so much room on the shelf, and I'm not even done yet. I think this one, I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with Fire and Blood yet, because frankly I didn't really like this book when I read it, but I've kept it because it's like a nice, you know, illustrated hardback, and I'm pretty sure this is like a first edition. Yeah, this is a first edition hardback of Fire and Blood that like I think my grandparents got for me for Christmas one year when it had like first come out, but frankly I didn't really love it. I'm probably not going to reread it, and it takes up so much space on this bookshelf. I've kept it because I think it looks good with the other books, but like I think it's time to let it go. I may again put this in my box of books that I keep for sentimental value, but it may also just get put in a little free library, who knows. And then I think everything else on this shelf can stay, and I think everything down here is gonna stay too. I'm really in my Melissa Scott era right now. I have so many of her books that I've bought secondhand because I just love this kind of era of like 90s hardback sci-fi books. I think they look so charmingly charmingly bad at this point. Like, let me show you Burning Bright, which is probably like my favorite cover of all time. Like, none of this has anything to do with the actual book itself, by the way. That's like one of my favorite covers ever, just because of how like charmingly bad it is. I feel like at some point I will probably, kind of like with the Foreigner books, at some point I will come out of my fervor for Melissa Scott, maybe offload some of these, but for now I've really loved all of these, so I'm gonna keep them. And I have Dreamships and Dreaming Metal, which are a duology, and then Burning Bright and Night Sky Mine, which are a standalone, and then I have a bind-up of The Roads of Heaven, which is a trilogy all in one omnibus edition. I might get rid of this little paperback of Trouble and Her Friends. I got this at Say It With Me, a library book sale, and it's just kind of a nasty little mass market paperback, and also this is probably my least favorite of her books, so I don't really feel the need Hi, kitty. I don't really feel the need to keep this and reread it, so I might also just get, you know, put this one in a little free library as well. It's kind of unfortunate that a lot of the authors that I buy for all have names in the last part of the alphabet. And yes, that is how I organize my bookshelves. I order them alphabetically A to Z because the librarian gene, I just find it easier to remember and easier to find what I'm looking for. And I don't know, I like the way it looks. So I keep them like that. This is the display bookshelf. We have my Destiny Grimoire and my Mara Soft statue up here and my Lucent Hive. This is this is the Rip Destiny shrine that I've got going on right now. And then this is my vanity book. So I've got my Ursula K. Le Guin collection and all of the secondhand mass market paperbacks of Earthsea that I've bought. I just love collecting these like mass market paperback editions. I think they're so cute. And Ronnie's also hanging out here. And then my copy of He Who Drowned the World, because I love this book and I really liked the special edition of it, is hanging out here because I don't know where else to put it. And then this is the Realm of the Elderling shelf. They all hang out over here. I've got I lent this out to someone and they never gave it back to me, so I need to buy a new copy of Assassin's Apprentice. And then I've got the beautiful Illumicrate editions of Farseer, and then the rest of the series minus Rain Wild Chronicles. And I think I only had Ship of Magic in paperback, but then I found Ship of Destiny in hardback in like the library sorting room and I bought it for $2, so that's really good. It's a beautiful, beautiful edition, although it is white Althea, which not how I picture her, but it's a very charming book cover. So I'm keeping that, and then maybe I'll buy the rest. Well, the Illumicrate are definitely doing live ship in editions to match these, so I'm gonna buy those as well, and then I'll have to really figure out what I'm doing with these. I might need to buy another real bookshelf just for display, because I have so many books that I want to display that I just don't have room for, or maybe it's finally time to let go of the K-pop albums, but we'll see. That's what's on the display bookshelf. I already don't know how I'm gonna get the Bright Sword onto here, but like we'll find a way. Okay, we're back. So I have like the worst matcha ever right now. This is my first time ever trying to make a matcha from matcha powder, and it was only after I had put like the hot water and whisked it together that I realized that my milk had gone bad, and so I had to use vanilla creamer. And like it doesn't taste bad, but it also doesn't really taste like any matcha I've ever had before. So we've got that. And we're gonna go through all the books that I took off the shelf to Unhaul to get rid of. And I'm also gonna show you the books that were already in like their own little Unhaul pile off to the side. These are all books that I've read probably in the past like 3 to 4 months and have just decided they're books that I own that I've read within the past 3 to 4 months that I've just decided I don't want for any reason, but I've been saving them to make this video so that I can show you guys what I'm getting rid of before it leaves my house. So first of all, I have 8 Months on Gaza Street by Hilary Mantel. I got this used from an independent bookstore. I love Hilary Mantel's writing. I love the Wolf Hall trilogy, and this was certainly interesting. Like I like her prose a lot, but the story itself didn't really grip me. I feel like the first half was very introspective and very much about like the politics and ethics of like being a Western woman living in Saudi Arabia, and then the second half got really into this like thriller mystery plot, and none of the stuff from the first half I felt like adequately got explored. Especially, I mean, like the perspective here is so like you're a white woman coming into Saudi Arabia and like making all these judgments on the place, but also like it's based off of Hilary Mantel's real experiences, like going to Saudi Arabia and living there with her husband. So it's just, I'm sure somebody could speak a lot more eloquently about the potential ways in which she represents Saudi Arabia and especially Muslim women than me. But ultimately I just didn't feel super strongly about this, gave it a 3.5, and I'll never think of it again or read it again. So it's going to a little free library. Then I also have this nonfiction book called Romantic Outlaws, which is about Mary Wollstonecraft and Mary Shelley. And like, I honestly do want to read this, but I got this from a library book sale, and frankly, like, I think originally the person who gave it up in the first place gave it up because it like is misprinted. Like, it's very blurry. The font is like blurred, and it's honestly quite hard to read. Like I tried to pick it up and read it because I again was really interested in the topic, but it just like legitimately hurt my eyes to read. So I think I'm gonna pass this one along and then hopefully try to find this one at the library. I also have Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howarth. I got this new at an independent bookstore for $20, and it just didn't do anything super special for me. Like I think a lot of people will really love this and really connect to it, but I just have read so many queer coming of age stories that it just didn't do anything really new or groundbreaking for me, especially at the time period I am in my life where I've been out for many years and I'm very secure in my sexuality, and like I didn't have very similar experiences to this, so it was very interesting to see those experiences, but I didn't really love it emotionally. I did think it was interesting and unique to see like this kind of queer coming of age story from the perspective of the person who is like closeted and like knows their family wouldn't be okay with it, and so kind of wants to keep the relationship a secret, because I feel like a lot of the time in these kind of queer coming of age stories, it's from the perspective of the person who like is very out and proud, or like knows themselves and knows their sexuality and like knows that they will get a lot of shit for it, but like is just wanting to do it anyways, and they are kind of having to deal with a partner who doesn't want to come out, and that's kind of framed and treated as a bad thing. So it was interesting to see the other side of that in this book and kind of to see them work it out anyways, but no super strong feelings about it. I'm not really going to reread it. I think somebody else could really love this, so she's going away to a little free library. Also have The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. Got this at a library book sale. I would have loved this had I read it when I was younger. I just feel no great feelings towards it now, and I'm never going to reread it again. I don't feel the need to hang on to it. She's going in a little free library. I also have Tender by Sophia Samatar, and you might be thinking, wait, but I thought you read that book and gave it 5 stars. You would be correct. I got this copy off of eBay for literally like $2, and I didn't realize it was so cheap because it's damaged, and unfortunately, yeah, I did ultimately care about that, so I went and bought it or used for a slightly more expensive price. Still not that expensive, but it's a nice hardback edition, and it's even wrapped in Mylar, so I'm happy with this edition, and I'm actually kind of pleased that this edition now is going to go to a little free library and hopefully get picked up by somebody who's going to love it just as much as I did. And then I also have Redwood and Wildfire by Andrea Hairston. I picked this up at a library book sale because it was bag day, so I had like paid $10 at the door and I was trying to get my money's worth, and I've read this book before. I love Andrea Hairston. This isn't my favorite from her, but I was like, let me just pick it up. It's just taking up space on my bookshelf, and it's pretty banged up on the spine, so I don't love the way it looks on the bookshelf. I'm probably not going to reread this anytime soon, and if I am, I would get it from the library like how I read it originally. So she's going to go in a little free library, and hopefully somebody will pick it up and get really into Andrea Hairston like I did. Speaking of, where's the freaking Le Guin shortlist? I've been waiting all month for it. It came out last year, I think in like mid-June, but I'm pretty sure the year before that it didn't come out till July, so I should have expected this, but I'm pissed. I want it now. I want these good books now. I also have these 2 books that I don't think I'm getting rid of or, you know, getting out of my apartment. I think these are going to the box where sentimental books that I don't necessarily want on the shelf, but I don't want to actually get rid of, go to die. And those are the 2nd and 3rd book in the Foreigner series by C.J. Cherryh. I'm still keeping the first book. I love this series. I think I got a little overzealous at buying the first 3 books in the series because I feel like if I'm gonna reread the series physically, it would just be the first book, and they look really good together on the shelf, and I do love seeing them together, but they're just so thick and they take up so much space on the shelves, and it's kind of a waste to have them there when I know I'm really not gonna reread them, and they're taking up space that could be going to something else. But again, I just really love like this era of sci-fi fantasy hardcovers, so I do kind of want to keep these, just maybe again in my box, and wait until I have more space to actually display them. So those are going to the box, so they go in a different pile. And now these are all the books that I picked up off the shelf earlier. In case you just want a little reminder, we are unhauling Trouble and Her Friends by Melissa Scott, Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, which I do think is going to the bin of emotionally significant books. The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar, Moth Eater by Linda H. Kodega, The Tomb of Dragons by Catherine Addison. We have these 3 editions of a lit magazine, which I am going to cut up and cannibalize for journaling purposes. We also have The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, and The Member of the Wedding and the Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which is going in the bin of significant books. Beartown by Frederick Bachman. Cast: The Origins of Our Discontent by Isabel Wilkerson. King Solomon's Ring and In Defense of Women, which are being cannibalized for journaling purposes. And My Abandonment by Peter Rock. So those books are all either going to be donated back to the library or put in a Little Free Library. I feel like I've been a Little Free Library hog. I check them every time I go to the many places around my town that have a Little Free Library, and sometimes I have taken stuff. Sometimes there's been really good stuff. I'm pretty sure that's how I got Legends and Lattes, but I have not been good about going back and replenishing them, so I'm gonna go do a big stock up of those with these, give back, finally pay my dues, and then anything that won't fit or that I feel like, you know, people might not want will go back to the library book sale. Yeah, so this was a very fun video. I feel great to have gotten some stuff off my shelves. There's definitely room for reorganizing now, and again, I keep my books in alphabetical order, so there's really not much organizing to do. It's just like fitting stuff in, but there is certain stuff like this that has been hanging out on top because there's not enough room for it on the shelf, so hopefully I can be able to move some of that stuff down. And then if anything up here that is on the to be read pile needs to go down, then it will have space, and that's good because I do think I'm gonna have to fit Dahlgren by Samuel Delany right here. That's where it would go alphabetically because I am like 20% of the way into it. It's a really long book, but I'm really loving it so far. It's so weird and so fun, but I'll definitely talk about it more when I finish it. So this was a very fun video to film. I can't wait to do the rest of my mid-year check-in reset stuff, and thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!